And it also looks like it's not letting me request control.
Okay, so, I can do the arrow part.
Yeah, if you would go ahead and do that, and if you would also then change it into the presentation view.
Oh, sorry, my thing was blocking it. Okay. Sorry, it is taking a while to load on my screen, and I'm not sure why. While it's loading, I don't know why it's taking so long, guys. I am sorry. Do you guys want to go around and we'll introduce ourselves while it's loading? And then hopefully by the time we all introduce ourselves, it'll be up and running.
That sounds good, but maybe if we stop the sharing so that we're not just little tiny heads in the corner.
Okay. Oh, there it is. Okay.
All right, well, I can start. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Mrs. Kundari. This is my 8th year here teaching 5th and 6th grade at Westgate. And the subjects that I teach are 5th grade math, and then 6th grade language arts and 6th grade science. I live locally with my family, my husband and our daughter, who is an 8th grader here at Westgate. The thing that I'm most passionate about in teaching is making really engaging lessons to have a lot of fun with the kids so that they are enjoying the learning process and really engaged. And then they are more likely to kind of meet the high standards that I set, because I always do want to push them and challenge them from wherever they are to continue their learning.
Thank you, Christy. Thank you guys for being so patient with all of us. I am actually at home sick right now, so it's hard to help troubleshoot from here. So I am Mrs. DEWAR, and I am the 5-6 team lead. And I have been at Westgate for 6 years now in the 5-6 pod. And I live at home with my husband and my daughter, who is 4 years old and will be joining Westgate next year. And then I also have a couple dogs and a lizard out back. In my free time, I really enjoy traveling and cooking and exercising and gardening. I really just like food in general. And yeah, that's a little bit about me. Thanks.
All right, I'll jump in. So I'm Mrs. Grubb, or Ashley Grubb. This is my 2nd year at Westgate, but my 5th year teaching. I teach 5th grade language arts, 5th grade social studies, and then 6th grade math. I live in Frederick, actually, with my husband and our sweet puppy, and I'm happy to show you pictures of our puppy if you ever want to see. And yeah, I love being at Westgate, love the students, love our team, and am excited for this year.
And I'm Tara, Miss Sanders to the students, and I've been at Westgate for 5 years. So this will be my 6th, and I also really love it. It's really cool meeting the kids and their different personalities and getting to see kind of all the weirdness that they bring to the table, which is really wonderful. And in my personal life, I like to write and draw and play guitar. And I've got a toddler and an orange cat. And I think the screen sharing is gonna work, but it got really mad at me when I did it in presentation mode. So are you guys good if it's like not full screen? I think like our bandwidth might be a little low. That's what I'm wondering. But I'm gonna do that. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna try this. Is that working? Hold on. I'm gonna do something else. Sorry, because it's pulled up behind me.
It did show just for a brief second. I think
Oh,
it's
Yeah, it looks like maybe it was loading
I
for a
was
second.
too
there.
hasty.
it was really
Okay.
slow.
Okay. Cool.
I can see the first page of the presentation.
Yay.
Great.
Is it showing up for you all now?
It sounds like for some of them, I see it now finally too.
Okay. Okay.
All right, so I'll go ahead and dive in with some kind of basic information that applies to all of the 5th and 6th graders. You can see here our daily schedule. So that's just kind of how the kids go through their day. Something important about grades and how you guys can be checking in and keeping on top of all of that information. We use Infinite Campus as our attendance and grading system, so that's where you guys will always access grade information. Please make sure that you keep your contact information for Infinite Campus updated through the school so that when we try and reach out to you guys, we're getting it to the right place. We'll be starting to have students check their grades weekly and kind of communicate to you guys. The website there is ic.adams12.org, and you guys can find links to that also on the school website. And this same information about student login information can be found there as well, so don't feel like you have to frantically write it down right now. Something that we allow the students to do is if their work is not meeting proficiency, so if it's a score of a 2 or a 1, they have the opportunity to redo it. Because our goal always is for them to learn and master those standards. If they receive a 1, we definitely encourage them to redo. 2s are kind of more optional and sometimes kind of a case-by-case basis. But any redos, the highest they can score then is a 3. And a little bit more about how our grading system works, especially people who are new to standards-based grading. There's often some confusion. Our scores do not align with the traditional A, B, C, or D. And it's not at some percentage out of 100. But really, it's based on whether or not they are meeting the standards and meeting that content understanding. And so a 3 is that they're meeting grade level proficiency. And that's really the happy place. That's the goal. And that's where most of the time you want to see your students' scores. A 2 means that they have not quite achieved that mastery yet. And then the 1 is kind of where we're definitely feeling a little concerned. In order to receive the 4, they have to not only have met mastery of the standard consistently, but then gone above and beyond in their understanding of the content and be showing higher level knowledge. It's not just they made the most beautiful poster that we've ever seen and put tons and tons of effort into it. It really is about their mastery of the content knowledge being above what we would expect at their grade level. And we do always prefer like authentic work to show proficiency. So sometimes that looks like projects or discussions in the classroom, and it can come up in a lot of different formats. We try to use rubrics as often as possible so that students know ahead of time what a 3 looks like. And then it also can kind of communicate to you where in that spectrum they fell and why the grade is what it is. And again, there will be multiple opportunities to demonstrate mastery. Moving on, excuse me, sorry, I've been talking a lot today. As far as birthdays, we do enjoy celebrating with the kids. It's their special day. Any food brought to share with the class needs to be pre-packaged and include a list of ingredients. And right now that's individually wrapped, pre-packaged from the store. Not just you guys went to Krispy Kreme and put all the donuts in Ziploc baggies. It really has to be the factory packaging. And then we need the ingredients included from there as well so that we can make sure that we are keeping everybody healthy and not exposing people to things that they cannot be eating. When we do celebrate, we do that in our advocacy classes at the end of the day between 3:15 and 3:30. Students with summer birthdays are encouraged to celebrate on their half birthday or possibly another date that they can kind of communicate with us. And then if you have a child who has allergy restrictions, it can be helpful to have some kind of alternative treats for them that we can keep in the classroom that are shelf stable. So that if we are celebrating a birthday and someone brings in a treat that they can't eat, there is something here that we can give them so they can participate in that. Our school's work at home policy, we don't typically assign homework for homework's sake. We want them to have time to be kids, spend time with the family, pursue their passions, and so on. But there are exceptions to this where you might see work coming home. That would include makeup work from an absence, additional practice if they're really struggling in an area and we think that they need that additional practice to really get up to mastery. And we would communicate that with you guys at that time. If they're not using their class time wisely and they're not getting things finished, then they would need to take it home to finish sometimes. And then on very rare occasions, we might do special at-home projects if maybe the materials are things that we cannot safely use in the classroom, or if it's kind of like a passion project type thing. And again, you would hear communication from the teacher specifically in regards to the timeline and expectations of what those projects would be. And those would not be during holiday breaks, but they might be during just kind of the regular school day, but something, well, not school day, school calendar on our work days, but just something that we would ask them to do at home. Differentiation. It goes beyond ability grouping, and it really is what we try to focus on the most to meet each student's really individual needs. And so the ways that we do that, we do a lot of project-based learning where they have some different choice options, which they can then kind of choose some more challenging or different styles of learning. Being self-directed and or working in groups in different ways can kind of break up what they're getting and what they need and how they access the material. We encourage a lot of self-evaluation to kind of reflect on how they're meeting the standards and giving them the opportunity to really stretch for the next level. We do, of course, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, have high expectations for every student. We're not just reaching for, we want everybody to be at 5th or 6th grade standards. It's like, this is where you are now, and this is where we want you to be when we're done. We want everybody to be growing and learning and challenged. And they have opportunities to work in whole group, small group, and individuals, which can help them learn in a variety of different ways. And then we like to add depth and complexity to help guide the student. So that might be how we question or the different kinds of connections and things that they make with the material. I do realize I'm going quickly and I have not really paused to give anybody a chance to ask questions. We're going to have time and space for that at the end, but we want to make sure we at least get through our information first, and then we'll stop and take all of your questions. Our contact information is here, as well as you can find all of that on the website. You can go to our staff directory or to our class pages. Our class pages are a great way to make sure that you're keeping in touch and finding out what your kids are learning. If you have not already been subscribed to those pages, we encourage you to do that, and we will be making sure that we get everybody added as well. Our school website is there, the westgatecommunityschool.org. And then we post weekly for each of our different subject areas to let you guys know what content we're learning and the different assignments and if there's anything out of the ordinary going on, as well as kind of a monthly advocacy newsletter where we tell you important dates and other big things happening in the pod. As far as who teaches what, we all teach advocacy. This year is a little bit different than it has been in the past in that our students are not mixed between 5th and 6th grade together in advocacy. Miss Grubb and Miss Sanders have 5th graders for advocacy. Miss Dewar and I have the 6th graders. Normally we all have some of both. For language arts, 5th grade is taught by Mrs. Dewar and Mrs. Grubb, 6th grade by Miss Sanders and myself. For math, 5th grade is taught by myself and Miss Sanders, 6th grade by Miss Dewar and Miss Grubb. Social studies and science, 5th grade social studies is taught to all of them by Miss Grubb in 2 different blocks, and then science for 5th grade is Sanders. And then Miss Dewar and I switch with the 6th graders. She has social studies and I have science. What is advocacy? The goal is for us to be advocates for our students and having a connection with them and opportunities for them to have really a safe, trusted adult in the building. And having this time and space that's not dedicated to grading and things where they feel like maybe they're being judged, but really just a separate time outside of that where they get to build connections with us. And the types of lessons that we do with them intentionally during those advocacy times include the social emotional development, environmental ed, service learning, community building, career exploration, and really supporting them academically through grade checks and helping with homework and kind of some study hall opportunities. And now we're going to go ahead and dive into our content, and we're each going to take turns giving a brief overview of the year as far as what units we teach for each subject. So I will go ahead and pass it to Miss Dewar to talk about her language arts class.
Thank you, Mrs. Kundari. So you can see a couple of book covers here. We are currently in quarter 1. We are doing creative writing and we are working on personal narratives. We are also reading Among the Hidden. That's the book cover on the right there. And then next quarter, we're going to be doing an informational unit, and we're going to be doing process papers for a survival skill. And then we're going to take those and create an informational class booklet out of them. And to go along with that, we read the book Hatchet by Gary Paulson. And then we watch the movie version, which is not called Hatchet. So don't Google that and watch it because it's not a good one. And then we compare and contrast the book and the movie. And then in quarter 3, we have a persuasive unit. So we write persuasive papers and create and record and share ads with each other. We also get to watch a couple of different ads and kind of like the ad making process. And then in quarter 4, we are going to be doing biographies of a poet. So they're going to write a paper about a poet, and then they're going to dress up as that poet and read a poem by them for their presentation.
All right, mine doesn't have any pretty pictures, but so yes, we're still currently in quarter one. So same type of units you guys will notice. It's still creative writing, informational, persuasive, and then biographies. But we just do a few different things. Like right now we're reading The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. And then next we're going to also do Hatchet, but we're going to spend a little less time on Hatchet and also read Coraline and watch the movie and kind of compare and contrast the two. And then for the persuasive unit, we're also going to read The Giver and then Gathering Blue, which is the same author. So we'll talk about same genre styles. And then I'm really excited for quarter four. We'll also be doing biographies, but we'll mostly be focusing on comparing dramas to poetry and stories, and they're going to actually put together an act in a play. So I'm really excited to use our outdoor amphitheater, and we'll make sure to invite you guys, and it'll be really fun. I'm excited.
All right, and 6th grade language arts with me. This quarter we're hitting grammar pretty hard, talking about sentence structures and using commas and semicolons. That becomes a big thing for these guys. Our first book unit has a science connection, and we've been reading a couple of I Survived books that include some stories about tsunamis and volcanoes, which ties into our earth science that you'll hear about later. They'll also be doing a research essay about a natural disaster. We've been focusing on writing small moment narratives, so short stories where we really dig in and make it super juicy. So they're called watermelon stories. And later in this quarter, kind of rolling over into quarter two, we'll be reading parallel novels, Ender's Game and Ender's Shadow, where it's the same set of events told from two different points of view, which takes us into quarter two, where we will finish those two novels. And then we focus a lot on some parts of speech, including adverbs, pronouns, prepositions. And then we'll be doing debate and argumentative essay writing. Quarter three, we focus on Greek roots, longer narrative writing, poetry, and we will be reading the novel called Uglies. Quarter four, their writing is going to be kind of choice and a lot of one-on-one kind of development, where we've covered some of the major styles and now they get to kind of pick and develop what they're really passionate about. And then we will be exploring the novel Fablehaven in a kind of choose your own adventure, Dungeons and Dragons, role-playing, really interactive style. Miss Sanders.
All right. Hi. So we're also going to be reading the I Survived books. We just finished the Japanese tsunami, and we're starting the eruption of Mount St. Helens next. Also doing the narrative writing for small moments. And then we're looking at, we're doing a spelling unit as well, so in each quarter, and we're looking at like the different origins of words. So we're starting with Latin and then words that have Asiatic origins. So each week they're going to get a little spelling list. They practice, they define the words they use in a sentence, and then on Friday we'll have a little spelling quiz. Not going to be a big part of their grade at all, but just to, like, you know, have them invested in the practice of it. Quarter two, we will be reading Fablehaven and then doing argumentative writing. And then for spelling at that time, we're going to be looking at Arabic and French origin words. And then quarter three, we're going to be reading, it's not like a full-on autobiography. It doesn't go over her whole life, but March Forward Girl is about one of the first students who integrated into one of the all-white high schools in Arkansas. It's just a really fascinating read. It's a total page turner. At that time, we'll be doing informational writing. So they're going to be kind of researching like Jim Crow laws and segregation and the factors that surrounded the integration of the first school. And then spelling, we're doing Slavic and Germanic origin words. And then quarter 4, we're going to do uglies, poetry, and then continuing with Greek and New World Origin spelling words.
Moving into math, starting with 5th grade, Miss Sanders and I are teaching those students, and we're very excited to be using the new curriculum that our school has implemented this year called Big Ideas Math. And the units for the quarters, quarter 1 is place value, numerical expressions, adding and subtracting decimals, and multiplying whole numbers. Quarter 2, we multiply decimals, divide whole numbers, and divide decimals. Quarter 3, it's all 4 operations with fractions and converting units of measure. And then quarter 4, it's using the coordinate plane, finding volume, and then classifying 2-dimensional shapes.
Yeah, so for 6th grade, I want to second that. We're very excited about the new curriculum. It's been great so far. So the standards that we're going to be teaching in quarter 1 for 6th grade, then we do operations and dividing by a fraction. And then in quarter 2, it's introduction to numeric pieces of equations and ratios and unit rates. And then quarter 3 is rational numbers and expressions and equations. And quarter 4 is geometry and statistics and probability.
So one thing that we are going to be still keeping with our math classes is the math workshop, and we're going to throw that in with the math curriculum that we just got. So one thing that they gave us is this resource that has these amazing juicy problems, and we like to take them and then have students work collaboratively on them together. So they go through a whole class period, and you can kind of see in the circle here how it's divided up. It starts with a little debriefing, and then we do a little mini lesson together. And I should kind of show them what it is that we're doing, and then they go through and they have some independent work time. And then after independent work time, they get into pairs and they get to discuss a plan for how they are going to be solving this math problem. And then they go from there into groups, and then they get to work in groups to solve the problem. And after that, they go back to their partners to discuss the plan that they had originally created together. And after that, then the whole class comes together and we have a great whole class discourse where everyone gets a chance to speak and to say what they noticed, what worked for them, what didn't work for them. So that way they can really break down the solving of the problem and how they came to their answers, whether they were right or wrong.
All right, so 5th grade science, quarter 1, we're practicing the scientific method and practicing putting our hypotheses into correct format. So if then, putting their, not saying I think this will happen, but really saying if this happens, then, or if this is true, then this will happen. And then also writing conclusions based on their hypothesis. So saying, was their hypothesis supported? And looking at reasons that it may or may not have been supported. Like, was it an issue with the experiment? Was it looking at the different factors and not saying like, so it was supported, so it's true. Like really retesting, really looking at that method. We're also starting matter and its interactions as our first unit. And so we're going to be looking at like the conservation of mass, in that no matter is created or destroyed truly, it just changes form, and kind of delving a little bit into physical and chemical changes. In quarter 2, we're going to start our forces unit. So they're going to learn about distant and contact forces, So distant forces would be like magnetism, electrical force, and then gravitational pull as well. And then weirdly enough, I wish like quarter 4 could be longer because energy and organisms really goes best with those ones, but it's kind of tacked there because it's a bit of a shorter unit, but we're learning about the relationship between photosynthesis and cellular respiration, and how there's like kind of a loop. Like we exhale carbon dioxide and plants take in that carbon dioxide, turn it into oxygen that we use. Quarter 3, we're doing Earth and the universe, and then Earth systems. And then quarter 4, we're looking at ecosystem dynamics, so the different organisms and the roles that they play in an ecosystem. And then we will be doing human impacts on the Earth. So what are our responsibilities as part of the Earth and the effect that we have on it?
In 6th grade science, we are the earth science year of middle school. And I also start quarter 1 with a really bite-sized chunk focusing on the scientific method again. I tend to push a lot towards curiosity and observation and data collection. And then we start with the geosphere, talking about the layers of the earth, plate tectonics, and how that earth movement causes things like earthquakes, tsunamis, and volcanoes. Quarter 2, we move into the hydrosphere, which is essentially what is water's role on Earth and how does it cycle through different systems and what all kinds of things water can cause in itself, which includes erosion. And we focus also on other causes of erosion. Quarter 3, we're then continuing to expand outward. So now we're looking at the atmosphere and climate and weather and the seasons and starting to branch out into the solar system. Quarter 4, we kind of go to the biosphere very briefly because we are more focused on the Earth aspect of it. And so we kind of focus on what are our natural resources. And then we're going to kind of revisit a little bit back into the Earth layers and talk about fossils and the geologic time scale.
Yeah, so moving into social studies for 5th grade, we start quarter 1 with looking at geographic tools and how to use that to research and answer questions, as well as understanding the U.S. geography and each region. So far, they've been doing a great job of memorizing all the states, and it's very cute to see them study. They've been working so hard. If you have a 5th grader, you probably know. But then we're not only just having them memorize, we're working a lot on using that information to help them discuss in class and listen to each other while they're talking and be able to share their opinion with knowledge to back it up and using that research. So it's a really cool unit. In quarter 2, then we start looking at the origins and the structure and purpose of the U.S. government. And then in quarter 3, we look at European colonization, different perspectives and trade, as well as immigration and migration based on geography. And then we also talk about economics, which I'm excited to do. And then quarter 4 is all American Revolution. And that's it.
So for 6th grade social studies, in unit 1 in quarter 1, we've got geography. And this is where students learn about the 5 themes of geography, and then they apply them to researching a city and planning a trip there. So that's what we're currently working on. In quarter 2, we do ancient civilizations. So after learning about all the Olmecs, Aztecs, Mayans, Incans, and Inuit, the students then get to create an artifact, and we have an artifact museum, and they get to stick them in display cases and have the informational plaque and everything with it. It's a lot of fun, and we invite the rest of the school to come and look if possible, and if not, then we make a digital one to share. So it's a lot of fun for that. In quarter 3, we do early Native Americans and the Columbian Exchange. So students learn about 4 different regions of Native American Indians, and then they apply that knowledge to create 4 different mini projects. They then research and teach each other about the early European explorers. And then quarter 4, we wrap up with our class economy and with a PBL, which is a problem-based learning broken laws unit that we do, where students look at unjust laws and the whole like lawmaking process, and then they pick and rewrite a current law. And the whole while they do this, they are doing like classroom jobs and having a class economy and earning money to do so. So they get to learn both about economics and civics all in one.
All right, we've reached the point where we stop talking and give you guys the opportunity to ask whatever questions you might have at this time.
I'm guessing, I just see the name Benicio. I'm guessing that's Juanita. You had a question?
No, this is Gwen Murphy speaking. I'm sharing my video now.
Oh, hi.
Hi. Could you say a little bit more about the Big Ideas curriculum that you guys said you were excited about? I'm just not familiar with it. Thank you.
I'd be happy to answer that. Over the last couple years, we've been kind of digging into a lot of different types of curriculums, and something that we found that we really liked about Big Ideas is it did a great job of kind of walking students through a set of sample problems and teaching them the process, and not just providing the basic practice problems, but as Ms. Dewar alluded to very briefly earlier, it has a lot of really rich problems that go with it as well as including some interesting like real world connections and performance tasks, and just really helping the math become real and meaningful for our students.
Great, thank you.
Absolutely.
On my end, I don't know. I'm seeing Benicio Gervell's hand up. He's still in here. Oh, hey. I thought it was you, Juanita. How are you?
Let's see if we can help you. You're still on mute. I wonder if I can help you undo that. It looks like you will need to unmute for yourself. There's the little microphone icon near the top right of your screen. I'm
going to type it.
Another option, if you're having a hard time with your microphone, is if you use the meeting chat option, you can type in your question for us to answer. Oh. That might be you, Mrs. Dewar, as the owner of the meeting. She says it's locked on our end.
Yeah, I'm looking and it's telling me that I can't do it and she has to, so I don't know. Let me try messing with it some more and let's see if we can fix it. Let me try making you a presenter real fast. That seems to be like the only way or the only option available. Let's see if that works. Try now on your end and see if it'll let you. Thank you. I'm so sorry. This is weird using a new platform. We have no clue. Did anybody else have any other questions or want to try unmuting themselves to share with us?
No, but I'd like to say thank you very much. Awesome job.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Of course.
I have a quick question. If there is a reason for a class to be quarantined, will there be possible like things the kids can do at home while we're waiting to get back into class?
Yes. So everyone should have already gotten an email, or it should also have been posted on the advocacy page of your teacher, or possibly even their content pages. But we sent out how to access the Teams for 5-6 because we will be having all of our daily work on Teams. There's also printed copies of how to log on to there and access it at home with Miss Natalie at the front desk. And then if anyone is at home and they need a device, you can also contact Miss Natalie at the front desk or myself or your advocacy teacher, and we can get a device for your student as well. And if you need like a hotspot for Wi-Fi or anything, let us know and we can get that too.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
If I have a question, if there is homework that comes home, how will we know?
If it's something that's daily that we send home with the student to finish, most likely it will be with them in their backpack and it should be written in their planner. It's not always happening that way exactly. If it is something that is a whole project that everybody is being asked to do at home, that should either come through email or the class pages. And another really good way to stay on top of that is if you're checking Infinite Campus and you're seeing missing assignments, those would be things to look for as homework as well. Anybody want to add to that?
Occasionally your child will email you that they have homework if they use their class time unwisely. And then you'll know it's coming.
Perfect.
So for example, if I check Infinite Campus and I see that their assignment is missing, is it a prompt for me to say, hey, you need to check with your teacher and see if you need to complete it in school or if you need to bring it home to get it done?
That's the
That would be
perfect
perfect.
response. Yep.
Got it. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then when
Could you,
sorry.
sorry. Could you expand a little bit on how they'll be using their planners this year?
We can. Who wants to? You want me to go for it?
Sure.
Something that we all have in our classroom is we have kind of our daily agenda. And for each subject, then we have written like what the assignments are for the class that day. And then those usually should also have a correlating like learning objective, which comes from the standards. And we ask the students when they come into class to copy just the assignment piece of that. And so you should be able to see anytime you see their planner what they've been doing in class every day. And then we're encouraging them then if it's unfinished in class and should be finished at home to either highlight or circle or write like the letters HW for homework or something so that they're reminded to finish it. We also then
That's helpful.
yeah, and then
I
sometimes
think
our
mine
major projects will help them like break down like this, like your rough draft is due this day and then you should be done editing by this day in the final draft. So if it's a bigger project, they can kind of start breaking it down and chunking it and planning ahead with their planner as well.
cool. Yeah, my kiddo I think was writing down the objectives and I'm like, okay, this is cool, but I'm not sure this is how the planner's supposed to work. So I'll review that with her. Thanks.
I think then if you guys don't have more questions, if you want to go ahead and leave the meeting, we're going to be the four of us kind of sticking around, making sure that we get our recording of the video downloaded and then posted to share. So you all are welcome to view it again if you want to refer back to any of this again. It will be available, and then of course we'll be posting it for the folks who were not here. Thank you again for taking the time to be here and seeing what we're up to this year.
And thank you for your patience with our weird technical difficulties. We appreciate it.
No,
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.